Good morning. Welcome to the Centers for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. Whoever you are, whatever brought you here today, please know that you are welcome and celebrated. We know who you are. You are an individualized expression of the divine life in which we all live. We are life's opportunity to be someone unique and wonderful, whatever your ethnic background, your religious affiliation, however you know yourself or describe yourself. We are glad you're joining us here today. You're welcome to become a part of this community in whatever way serves you. And we are a strong, open, globally connected community centered on the clarity of principle. Through teaching, service, and practice, we create a safe and respectful environment that supports healthy spiritual growth. And we'll give you our declaration of principle as enunciated by Ernest Holmes.
A few of the declaration of principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful, hey.
So it is. So this morning we have a special practitioner. Becky Fox is an artist, graphic designer, facilitator, teacher, and spiritual coach who specializes in empowering others to create a life that is fulfilling and meaningful. Becky is a practitioner emeritus with Centers for Spiritual Living, trained in assisting others to make changes in their life by making changes in their thinking. Whether in a one-on-one session or in a class, Becky provides a safe, comfortable space where each person is encouraged to step through their fears, move into a life they've always dreamed of having. Becky also uses her creative and artistic background in classes and uses the arts to heal and transform lives. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here this morning. So I just invite everyone to turn within to that higher place. And so as we gather in this sacred space, let's just take a moment to center ourselves in the awareness of this one presence, this one power, the divine source of all that is. And so I recognize for each of us that this infinite presence flows in and through all creation, expressing as perfect love, boundless wisdom, and infinite possibility. It is the very essence of our being. And in this truth, we are unified, whole, and complete. In this moment of realization, all worries and distractions are released, and we surrender into the stillness of spirit. We open up our hearts, we open up our minds to this divine guidance that speaks through each of us, knowing that we are inspired, uplifted, and renewed. I am knowing that Reverend Dr. Ron is also open to this love of spirit, allowing its wisdom to speak through him, for him, and as him this morning. I declare that this gathering as a space of love, peace, and creative expression where each person is seen, is heard, is valued, and supported on their spiritual journey. Together, we are co-creating a world that reflects harmony, abundance, joy, and so much more. And so from this heart of love and gratitude, I just affirm this prayer I release it and know that it is already done in the mind of God. And so it is.
So this morning we have back again Reverend Dr. Ron Fox. He's been a motivational speaker, workshop facilitator for over 25 years. He's had a long successful career as a human resources executive, working for such companies as General Foods, Glaxo, SmithKline, Unum, and Mattel Toys. Ron also operated a very successful search firm in Southern California. Ron is an ordained minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living. He's a gifted speaker and published author. His inspirational style, coupled with a keen sense of humor, makes him a favorite with audience everywhere he's spoken. And with that, he resides in Port St. Lucie, Florida, with his wife, Becky, who we heard from earlier. And welcome, Reverend Dr. Ron.
Thank you. Really glad to be back here. Looking forward to this. So the title of the message today is Christmas Unwrapped. But I want to do two things before I actually begin. I want to say something to Maya and Judy. You guys asked me to make my talk a little longer because Becky wasn't going to do the 10-minute talk. And in all honesty, I don't time what I'm going to do. But Becky said to mention to you, if my talk isn't as long as you wanted it, when I get finished, just tell us how short we are, and Becky will sing Christmas carols to make up the difference to all of you. You should hear her laughing. Again, before I start, some of you might have heard this before, but in case you didn't, it's kind of cute. What would have happened if there had been 3 wise women instead of 3 wise men? What would have happened is they would have stopped and asked for directions. They would have arrived on time. They would have helped deliver the baby. They would have cleaned the stable. They'd have made a casserole, and there would be peace on earth. So now I'm going to really begin. So I want to begin by reading a piece from Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. And Howard Thurman lived in our modern time, and he was an absolute mystic. I'm going to open with it, and I'm going to close with something else from Howard Thurman. And the title of what I'm going to begin with is called Gifts on My Altar. I place these gifts on my altar this Christmas, gifts that are mine as the years are mine, the quiet hopes that flood the earnest cargo of my dreams, the best of all things for those I love, a fresh new trust for all whose faith is dim, the love of life, God's precious gift in reach of all, seeing in each day the seeds of the morrow, finding in each struggle the strength of renewal, seeking in each person, seeing in each person the face of my brother. I place my gifts on my altar this Christmas, gifts that are mine as the years are mine. So I want to begin by telling you all something that I'm sure you already know. And that is, in Jesus' time, there was no Christianity. Jesus was a Jew, and he practiced Judaism. However, he brought something brand new to the practice of Judaism. And that was the value of the individual, and not just on our earthly plane, but in the eyes of God also. The Jewish people in those days, the average person wasn't treated very well. They weren't looked upon very well. And that wasn't just by the Romans. That was by their own people also and their own hierarchy. So they had a really difficult life. And here comes this young man saying to them, you really matter to God. Not only that, he tells them, it is done unto you as you believe. So Becky and I have been in religious science since 1990. And I can honestly remember the first time I heard that, it is done unto you as you believe, and really got it, really knew it deep down. It changed my life. No more victimhood. And I know it changed. I don't like to speak for Beck, but I know it changed Becky's life too. And can you imagine what it was like for those downtrodden people in Jesus' day to hear that God loves you? And he gave them the message that these people that were treated so poorly, he gave them the message. If you can change your thinking, if you can take on a set of new beliefs, you can have a better life. And he proved to them that the power of the individual working with God, he proved it to them when he healed the sick, when he raised the dead, when he fed the multitudes, and when he changed water to wine. He taught that we have a partnership with God. And I really think it's so difficult, maybe even impossible, for people living in our time, for you and I, to realize how radical, absolutely radical that was. You know, we say all the time that we know God loves us. Nobody had heard that in their time. So could you imagine what it did to them, the them that believed it, that God loves you, that you matter to God, that you can have a one-on-one individual relationship with God? Wow. Wow. You know, for us in New Thought, Christmas is about remembering the presence of God in you and me. It's knowing that every day is holy, or at least has the potential to be holy. It's a day when we remember our oneness, not just with God, but with one another. This is for us a really great time of year. You know, for most of us, not everybody, but for most of us, it's a great time of year. You know, there's lots of parties and gift giving. So it's a fun time. But we don't find the true meaning of Christmas in the gifts. Let me tell you what Ernest Holmes said. He said, we find the giving in the sweet simplicity of remembrance. I love that. I think that is so pretty. The sweet simplicity of remembrance. And he went on. He said, it's in the kindly thought, the tolerant mind, a gentle act. It's giving our humanity to humanity. I love that piece too. Think about that. It's giving our humanity to humanity. You know, For those of us in New Thought, Christmas isn't about a savior being born, because we don't believe that we need to be saved. However, we do honor the eternal birth of Spirit as the light of the world. And Jesus really never claimed to be different from us. In fact, he said to us, "You shall do what I do. And where I'm going, you can go too." So I want to kind of take a time out here for a minute, because I want to do something that's really different and kind of radical. So you got to bear with me. I graduated from the School of Ministry in 1998. And one of the things you have to take, you take classes in how to give a message. It's called homiletics. And one of the things that they teach you in the homiletics class is you never, ever, under any circumstances, bring a personal problem to the congregation, because it's not fair to them. They're not your counselor. But that is exactly what I want to do now. Now, today's a really special day for Becky and me. It's our 34th wedding anniversary. But we're also having a problem, and I want to share it with you because my wife needs help. So first, let me tell you something about Becky. I think you already heard this, but Becky in 2014 won the Meritorious Practitioner Award. And that is really a big deal. It's one practitioner out of all the practitioners in religious science gets that award. And 2 years ago, she won the Arts Award. And the Arts Award is given to one artist in any media. So, it could be a singer, it could be a writer, it could be an artist, it could be anybody that has made a significant contribution to science of mind and the community. So that too is a big deal. And Becky is a really powerful person. But last week, I found out that what I just said to you, that Jesus said, "You shall do what I do," I found out that Becky doesn't believe that. And I want to explain to you how I found it out. We were going to Costco, and I was driving. I drove the car, and when we got out of the car and we were walking to Costco, I said, I didn't see the shopping list. Can I take a look? And I looked, and at the top of the list were a couple of cases of water, and at the bottom of the list was a lot of bottles of wine. And I said to Becky, let's think about this for a minute. I mean, here we are. You're a really powerful practitioner. I won the Meritorious Minister Award. So what do you say we get an extra carton of water, knock the wine off the list, save some money, and when we get home, we'll do what Jesus said, and we'll turn the water into wine. And Becky gave me this really strange look, and she said, "Maybe you better just go wait in the car." And I'm only bringing it up now here because I thought, I know Maya and Judy a little bit and the other practitioners. I'll bet there's somebody listening to me right now that's done exactly what I suggested. And so maybe after I get done with the talk, you guys could fill Becky in and say that I'm not off my rocker, that we should be able to do that. All right. All right. Now I'm going back to the talk. Ernest Holmes said, when we look at Jesus and what was going on in his time, why do we number the years backward? Why not number the years forward into our everyday experience and permit the new birth of God to take place in our consciousness? So let me give you an example of what I mean. And the example is about a young girl named Catherine Crabtree. One year, she had a really significant Christmas. Her family decided that for Christmas, they were going to a place where they could give gifts out to less fortunate children. And when she got home, this is what Catherine Crabtree wrote. She said, to make Christmas better for someone who couldn't afford it was like nothing I had ever experienced. It was a first Christmas for me in many ways. That Christmas, I had hoped for riches that I might be happy, but I was given poverty that I might be wise. And when I was preparing this, I had an aha remembrance of something that happened with one of my sons that's very similar that I want to share with you. So I don't remember exactly how old he was at the time. He was somewhere 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. And I belonged to an organization where we were going to go the week before Christmas to a children's hospital to pass out gifts. And he heard me talking about it, and he came to me and he surprised me. He said, Dad, can I go with you? And I thought, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, you can go with me. And so when we got there, I was the only one who had a child with them. And I, in all honesty, I felt really proud that my son wanted to go with me. So when we got up to the ward, I really like kids. And in fact, when my sons used to play Little League, I used to volunteer to do the snack shack because I loved interacting with the kids and making the losers feel good. So we started out, and the first couple of children, I was having fun with them, getting them to smile, and some of them were really sick, and giving out the gifts. And then I feel a tap on my back, and it's my son. And he said, come here. And he said, hey, you're really funny. Why don't you keep having the conversation with them? But is it okay if I give out the gifts? And I said, yeah, you could do that. And I noticed that he wasn't just handing out the gifts. I could see he was thinking about it. When we got back to the car, he said to me, he looked at me, and I could tell he was really proud. He said, hey, Dad, I did a good job, didn't I? And I said, Scott, you did a great job. And he said, you know, the reason that I asked you if I could give out the gifts was I thought, being that I was closer to their age, I would know better. And I actually watched you as you were talking to them. I watched them, and I tried to pick out a gift for each child that I thought they would enjoy. And then I said to him, Scott, what was the best part of this morning for you? And he looked at me and he said, the chance to make these little people smile. That's the spirit of Christmas. You know, I just thought of one more, okay? It's a quick. When Becky and I were in Arizona, our church decided to adopt one family. And that way we could really make Christmas great for a family. So we did. I got the name. I don't remember where, but I got it. And when I called up, I wanted to know what the children wanted, and I wanted sizes so we could buy clothes. And the father answered. And later when I met him, he was very, very obese. and had limited mobility. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he said to me, please don't spend any money on me. Use all your money on my wife and children, and that'll be my Christmas present. That we didn't listen to him, by the way, but that too is the spirit of Christmas. And isn't that touching? Ram Dass wrote a long time ago, we're all just walking each other home. Sit with that for a moment. I think that is such a powerful sentence. We are all just walking each other home. To me personally, that means we're taking the time to care for each other. It means we're recognizing our own and other people's divinity. And it means we're remembering who all of us are at the deepest level. We're all just walking each other home. You know, in Jesus, we celebrate the symbolic birth of God and man. It's the incarnation of spirit in you and me. So I'd like to read for you a couple of quick quotes from Meister Eckhart, who was a mystic who lived somewhere in the 1200 to 1300 time period. And here's the first one. He said, "What good is it to me that Mary gave birth to the Son of God 1400 years ago, and I do not also give birth to the Son of God in my time and my culture? We are all mothers of God, and God is always needed to be born." He's talking to you and me that we need to recognize and give birth to spirit, to God within each and every one of us. What he wrote is just as relevant for you and me as it was for the people of his time. In fact, in some ways, even more, because in his time, the church couldn't deal with his writing and they excommunicated him. Let me read the other quote. It's a quickie. "There's no need to look for God here or there. He is no further than the door of your own heart." Think about this. In the story of Jesus' birth, he was born in a stable. How much lower of a place could the Son of God be born in? You know, probably filled with straw, probably smelled really bad. Okay. But what does that mean today for you and me? Well, what it means to me is that we could find God anywhere. It shows us that it's not our background that matters. It's how we live our life and what we do with our life. So right now, I want to take another detour, but this is a serious one. Okay. I want to talk to you about Rachel Naomi Remen. Rachel Remen is a doctor, an MD, and she does counseling. And Rachel Remen is Jewish, and her grandfather was a rabbi. And she's written a couple of books, My Grandfather's Blessings and Kitchen Table Wisdom, great books. And in one of them, I don't remember which one, I think it was My Grandfather's Blessing, she talks about how when she was a young girl, maybe 10-ish, her grandfather wanted to teach her the meaning of Hanukkah. So what he did, he took her in a room and he turned off all the lights and made it really dark. And then he lit one candle in the menorah. And he said to her, there's a place in everyone that can hold the light. There's a place in everyone that can hold the light. And I still remember the first time I read that, I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? He's a rabbi and he's teaching this little girl religious science, because that's exactly what we teach. And he told her, when God says, let there be light, he's speaking to each one of us personally. He's telling us what is possible. And he's telling us that we could live, how we could live our life, rather, if we chose to. How we could live our life if we chose to follow God. And the other thing he said to her was, one candle doesn't do much, but God has made it possible for you and I to kindle and strengthen the light in each other. And that's how God's light will shine forever in the world. And I want you to think about that. He said, God made it possible for you and I to strengthen the light in one another. And because we can do that, and because we do it, that's how God's light will shine forever. And when I was looking at my notes yesterday, the thought hit me, that's exactly what namaste means. The God in me salutes the God in you. And as we allow that God to salute one another, that's how God is reborn every day in our world. And then when he got done teaching her that, this is the Hebrew prayer that he read to her. I just think this is so beautiful. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. Lord, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments where your presence like lightning illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know. I want to tell you another story. This is about a young girl named Erin McCormick. So one year, when Erin was 13, her parents told her that for Christmas Eve, they were going to go to a homeless shelter to be with homeless people. And she threw a fit. That isn't what she wanted to do. It isn't how she wanted to spend her Christmas Eve. But when they got there, the men were sitting around quietly singing, and it melted her heart. And one of the men looked at her and thanked her, and he told her he thought she was an angel. And so when she got home, this is the letter she wrote to Santa Claus. Dear Santa, I wrote you a letter earlier, but I'm writing a new one now. Please take care of the man I met earlier and bring him some of the gifts you are bringing me. Please keep him safe from the outdoors and make sure he is happy. That's all I want this year. You can still bring me presents, but the one thing that I want is for you to look out for my new friends. That too is the entire spirit of Christmas. You know, Ernest Holmes said that the shepherds made haste to find the babe. What does that mean for you and me? That means that you and I can make haste to find the Son of God within us. The discovery of God within you and me is the greatest gift that we can ever get. And that is where the story of Christmas begins. So I want to close with two readings from Howard Thurman. I love them both. I couldn't decide which ones to do. So the first one is entitled Christmas Returns. Christmas returns, as it always does, with its assurance that life is good. It is a time of lift to the spirit, when the mind feels its way into the commonplace and senses the wonder of simple things, an evergreen tree, familiar carols, merry laughter. It is a time of illumination when candles burn and old dreams find their youth again. It is a time of pause when forgotten joys come back to mind and past dedications renew their claim. It is a time of harvest for the heart when faith reaches out to mantle all high endeavor and love whispers its magic word to everything that breathes. Christmas returns as it always does, with its assurance that life is good. And lastly, I want to read to you something from Thurman titled The Work of Christmas. When the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to teach the nations, to bring Christ to all, to make music in the heart. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you again. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again in a few minutes.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Ron. It's an awesome message.
See you in a minute.
Yeah. Humor, fun, and a serious message all tied into one awesome thing. So now it's time for our conscious giving. We bring to you these amazing speakers every single week. And with that, we appreciate your donations. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown is surviving and doing well. And we can always use more to support and bring you better programming and on to the future in bringing a new minister to us. So if you will now with me say our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. So it is. So you can go to cslmidtown.org/donate or scan the QR code on the screen. I've got a couple announcements. As Reverend Dr. Ron mentioned, we have a discussion group after the service, and Next week, we have Reverend Dr. Alma Stevens speaking with us online. So last Sunday of the month. So we're still online. And with that, yeah, it should be a good service to right before the new year with that. Sunday mornings, if you want, there's a study group going on that starts at 10 a.m. before the service. They're going through the Science of Mind textbook. You don't have to have read this week's section to participate. It's a good discussion, and they would enjoy your support and participation. With that, now let's say our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth in the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Everybody have a happy holiday this week, and we will see you back next week, or join us over on the Zoom. So you can get there by going to cslmidtown.org, scroll down, and click the Zoom link and get the passcode, and that will let you in the meeting. Thanks, everyone.